are live from the dirty South, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. How are we doing this evening? From my account, I am like 9 Sundays away from being off to go to the National. And that's why I started the 3rd season of Road to the National. I just kind of doesn't feel like it right now. A lot of stuff going on. Very busy in my personal life and everything. I want to know how everybody's doing tonight. Watching any baseball today or basketball? Got my hotel booked. Yeah, good job, Joseph. I hope you. I don't know how early or you just did it. I know the people that are staying with me. What's up, Doc? Joe? I know the people staying with me got their airplane tickets a few weeks ago. So that's when it kind of started feeling real. We started looking for like things around our Airbnb, how far we are away from the meet and greets, how far we are from the IDEX Center, which we're not far at all. Oh, several months ago. Okay, yeah, that's probably a very good move. I think we're going to try to get our hotel rooms like while we're at the show this year for next year. Because I think we'd rather get here. I like the Thinking Man Maiko picture tonight. That's pretty cool.
That was part of a thumbnail that those thumbnails work for some reason because that video from what I remember got a lot more views than a typical video.
What video was that?
I don't know. It was something a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a picture of a Tops Now also on it. When Harper had his 300th home runs, it was probably late last season.
So Mike, does it feel like we're getting close to national season to you? It doesn't really feel that way to me. I don't know. You would have already seen in years past people already starting to drop national videos.
In terms of, I mean, I think I mentioned it during. I was on live today with an SGC reveal. And I think I mentioned like we're getting close, or maybe I did it in my most recent mail day that we're only 2 months away.
Well, you did it while you were pumping my channel.
I did your sponsored spot during my. No, I think I might have mentioned it during my last mail day too. I can't remember, but like I mean, I'm aware of it, but I don't know. There certainly hasn't been as much chatter, but I think there's less. I don't know, video wise. There's less of those types of videos right now, I feel it will happen. It will eventually become overwhelming. But also, and it might just be a me thing because I'm as you know, a psychopath that's busy 24/7. Like, it's been a very odd year. It's already suddenly, the second half of May. We're more than a quarter of the way through the baseball season, which is crazy.
Right.
And like, at least I don't know how the weather's been for you constantly, but it's been a very goofy spring in Philadelphia area. It's rained a lot and it's been like, it's constantly 40 some degrees, at least early in the day. Now it might get up into the 60s, but even a lot of the times when it's been in the 60s, it's been overcast, damp. So it feels chilly. Like we can wear sweatshirts a lot. We've had a few days where it's been like 85, 86.
Right.
But they've barely seen the sun. Like it's been a very bizarre start to the year. So I don't know. I feel all out of sorts, personally, but.
What's up, Sadler fan? Nice. Yeah, I think that's the way it is over country. We got, we had an early spring and then we went kind of backwards. We slipped back into April type of weather and it's got kind of crazy. But for me, I don't know if it's because we've had so many larger local shows that, I mean, everybody got, talked about the Expo, now the Dallas show, and a couple, another in June, or no, first weekend in July, I think, is another Northern Virginia show, CSA. What's up, Hodges? Uh, so, I don't know if that's taken away from a little bit. I mean, like you had a Hickory show here yesterday with 300 tables.
Yeah, I mean the other show up in Ohio, the vintage show, Strongsville, got so much attention. Like it always gets some attention, but it got, I don't know, 50-fold the amount of attention this year, not only in YouTubers going, but people talking about it and then people reviewing it. And I feel like that probably has played a role because it was like so much that, and a lot of those guys are people who are going to attend.
Well, some of them said that
stuff.
was their national for this year. Some people that went. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay the national or saying, people are cheap, but I mean, the funds can't go but so far. If you like, I didn't go to Hickory yesterday, and because right now some things came up this time of year, paying some stuff off, but all hit me at once, and it's just the way it is sometimes. And I didn't go. I wasn't going to go over an hour away. I have to pay for gas. If it was closer, I would have went just to walk around.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few shows by me recently, but there was one the weekend before Mother's Day, but that was a good hour away. I really thought about that, but it was like you have so much other things going on that it's hard to. And then the week after, there was the closest show ever to me, but they were charging $10 admission for a brand new show, and that also fell on a weekend where I had work obligations, so I would have only been able to go for like 1 or 2 hours. So I am paying admission to go in a show for 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah, I know there's a couple of shows around here next weekend as well for Memorial Day weekend. How about you?
None that I know of. I'm sure there could be something within an hour's distance anyway, but nothing I've looked in. I mean, we do have some weekend shows that I just usually don't make it to. I know our local mall show, I think, is in June. I think there's another one. I think there's one in mid-June. So, there's not a crazy amount of shows in my direct area, but I mean, it's still like just getting up on a busy time of the year. There's been some family things. You start having like, just different events as you get closer to the summer. So it just does become a busy part of the year too for people.
Well, I was kind of hoping that somebody was going to do a video because I know some YouTubers went to Hickory. Well, they were supposed to. But there was one of the bigger festivals also the same weekend in Salisbury, right outside of Charlotte, not too far, right between me and Charlotte. I don't know if anybody's familiar with cherry wine. Here, it's a soft drink made with cherries. They have a huge festival, and it's huge. I mean, everybody at work was talking about it. So, we have things like that. When the weather starts turning nice, there's things everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I started like, I don't know. I'm one of those people that every now and then I take a breath and I'm like, holy shit, how is the year 2024? Just like, and how's it halfway through almost? But like, it did occur to me the other day. I'm like, oh, I got to start looking at making some plans for the 4th of July. I got to reach out to some family members because in the last, usually a bunch of us try and get together at least sometime on that week, like, or weekend or whatever works. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, oh, Nationals a few weeks after that,
this year, the 4th of July is on a Thursday too. And that just sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I was actually looking at it cause I probably won't be available that following weekend. So if I'm doing anything, it's in the middle of that week. Thinking, should I take off for the 4th of July? Cause I'm already taking off for about 9 days at the end of that month for something we were just talking about. So,
yeah. Cause I might take off the Friday at work if we ain't got anything scheduled. But anyway, Sadler fan here brings up something that me and you talked earlier in the week, messaging back and forth. Might not be a bad time to look for deals. I have been picking up really cheap cards here lately, 2024 numbered cards. I talk about it in, on a budget. Just, I don't know if, like you said, you think people are maybe a little bit of addiction with buying in the breaks or getting in too deep with buying cases and opening them, and they just got to recoup some money. I don't know what's going on right now. Of course, the big cards are going to be the big cards, but the stuff that used to get pricey, like golds to 50 or the reds to 5 or something like that, they're affordable right now. Unless they get graded, then it can get pricey. But at raw prices, they're affordable right now. I mean, are you seeing the same? You got how many cards now listed? You just listed 400 today. So how many you got listed now?
I have 44,007 right now on the eBay store.
So that's at was that Mike O
Card Shop on eBay. 44,000. I actually have tons more to list. It's hard to manage time sometimes. My goals for today was to get some stuff listed early. I have a lot of stuff to pack because you constantly have that. And, if my SGC order came in, I wanted to make sure I got that revealed for those involved. So
yeah, you got to get one of your nieces or nephews trained to help you for free.
that would be nice. We need a few more years to go by. Thanks for that. But.
Right. Hey, let's learn some business today. Yeah. So I think we talked about it earlier, and I'm hoping it's gonna. I kind of wanted to go to Hickory to see if that was carrying over to card shows. Have you?
I think. I don't know. Like shows, there's definitely deals at shows for sure. But it seems like a lot of people a lot of people maybe save their money for shows sometimes too, because people absolutely love to sell at shows. There's definitely, I feel like, an increase of people who will just take a little bit less to not sell it online and have
cash, man.
Well, you get the cash, which they can spend right away, but also to keep it off the books. I think that's a real thing.
And I also just think,
I think people like going to shows.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I think the whole social aspect, going to shows now is more than the cards. And I think the national, then the bigger shows coming afterwards have made it that way. You even go to the smaller shows, you get to start knowing, at least by sight, some of the vendors, people. And, I think it's more, you see a lot of people standing around just chatting, which you always have, but it just seems to me, I mean, you're starting to see beer trucks and food trucks and at these shows, and it's becoming, instead of being at the American Legion Hall, it's becoming more of a gathering. And it's kind of, it might still be at the American Legion Hall, but they're going to be serving food and drinks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might be more of a social gathering.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors as well. I mean, first of all, we still have inflation issues. We still have just things are expensive. We're coming up on a time of the year where people are outside a little more. It's coming up on concert season. Obviously, it's baseball season, and it's the part of the year where people actually start attending more games. Now, the Phillies have been drawing really well since day one, but generally around the country, as we get closer to school getting out and the weather warming up, usually more people are going out to games. That's when they have their family games. So more people are going out to baseball games in this area. The shore is a big thing. People are getting ready, come up on Memorial Day. They'll be going down the shore with families, and that's expensive. So there's a lot of different expenses like that I think people are being aware of.
Yeah, and I think people
as well
choose a little bit more right now.
And I do think, we always, there's always like the end of the year tightening, but you have the middle of the year tightening as well. And it's due to people doing other things, having other things to do, people saving up their money. And it's just, I don't know, it's a weird part of the year because you do have basketball and hockey going on, but for the majority of fans, their seasons are over. We're down to we're almost in the Final Four of hockey, right? And basketball. I think hockey, there's a game 7 to determine that.
Well, yeah. Well, yes, they're getting really close. I don't know where basketball is at, but yeah, I mean, WNBA is just starting up.
And baseball is in full swing, but
Yes.
it's one of those things where it's not the early season hype and the numbers haven't been completely built up yet. So you're not in like a super hyper, like crazy part. Like people are clearly buying baseball, but it's also there haven't been a ton of products this year, and more products coming out and more rookies and stuff sometimes drives things a little bit too. We do have Series 2 is
Thanks, Paul.
4 weeks away. Some stuff like that. We have maybe our final 2023 product coming out in a few days. So
yeah, that's just weird. I can understand it being a little late, but Jesus, we're quarter away in the season. You're bringing out 20. I mean, now I got to get, and it's going to be all this color and Alvarez rookies and Singa rookies.
It'd be really nice if they'd release a freaking checklist. I know that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see who's in there.
I would say Ed probably goes to more concerts, Joe, just because he has more. There's more concerts to go to than card shows, so I would say that. What would you think, Mike?
I think Ed goes to more concerts than anything in the world. He certainly goes to more concerts than he shows up for Let's Talk with Big Scott 35.
Well, he's working tonight, man. I got to give it to him.
So he says.
Yeah.
If he wasn't working,
I know he's working because he wasn't in on our group chat today. I know he would have been in on that if he wasn't working. You may, huh? So, who do you root for in the Oilers and Canucks? Do you go for Edmonton? It would be nice to have checklists and print runs. Yeah. And Sailor fan, what other hobbies do you have? Because actually, what I did yesterday, to be completely honest, I went to a gaming thing yesterday because I wasn't sure that my SGC thing was coming in. If not, I would have put some money aside. But I went to a gaming thing and it was actually okay. I kind of thought that because where you're at, I kind of thought that would be more bang for my buck. I had to choose which one to go to, and the gaming thing, there was a crazy sale at this company. They were selling like regular price games for like $5-10. So got a little bit more bang for my buck.
You buy a bunch to flip?
Huh?
You buy a bunch to flip?
No, but there was
video game dealer.
There was people there. Okay, yeah, video games here too, vintage gun parts. You might want to check out this channel that I also have. It's Get Off My Lawn, Old Man Gaming. Sailor fan. I talk more. That's my gaming channel where I show everything I picked up yesterday. If you're interested in that, I should take that down. And yeah, because that was one of my things. Like, I really think we talk about it, and I've seen it. I brought it up a couple of weeks ago where I get constantly. Right now, if there's a card that you might want, but you think it's a little high, just hit the heart, hit the watch thing, and just sit back and wait and don't have fun. If somebody buys it that crazy price, then let them. You didn't want it at that price anyway. If I had money this week, I would have some very nice cards in my collection because I'm getting prices left and right. I mean, that's how I added some of those golds. I mean, when I say good, I'm paying like $20-25 for cards that those golds that a couple of years or last year or year before would have been $150, right? And I'm getting them pretty cheap to me, I think, on a higher end products, the that black chrome and triple threads. So I have to. It was at the time, but now it's kind of aged a little bit. So I would have to disagree, but that's all subjective anyway. But back to the cards and the National. So the National is in Cleveland,
home of the Guardians.
right? Which
last time it was in National,
place.
The Guardians didn't exist.
That's right, first place Guardians at that. So Joseph Polanski said he got his hotel booked about several months ago. So there's hotels to be had. I know at Cleveland you can go further out, even Chicago you can go further out. Yeah. Oh, what's up, Brad? Yeah, for further dork. I am a nerd. I am 100% a nerd. Mike has seen me at my nerdiest at a retro store. I was in heaven, as long in a card shop. There's a card show. That's my two places. But I don't really. I just wanted to touch on the National a little bit tonight. 9 weeks out, Mike. What are we getting prepared for? Are you making a list? Are you getting your thoughts together? Are you getting your comfy shoes? What are you doing at this moment? Like I said, I don't even really feel
at this moment. I'm currently packing cards for orders for eBay, but no, for the National, I haven't done any type of preparation yet, other than when we chat about it every now and then. I'll spend 20 minutes trying to find the link to our Airbnb again, just to look at it. Oh, that is as good as it looks. Like, I hope, at least. Yeah, it definitely looks like a good place.
I went ahead and last time you found the link, I bookmarked it so that way I wouldn't always, so I could just go to it. For me, honestly,
person would do.
For me, the only thing I'm doing is just looking at the money side of it, like how much I'll have available, because this isn't going to be one of the years where I've had in the past. I'm not going to have quite as much. I'm planning on doing other things this year. So I'm not upset at all. If I want to have as much, I will, and I just won't do anything else this year. But I like to go do some things, and also have money available to do other things. So that's about the only thing I'm looking at.
I mean, I've given it some, because it's been brought up in the last few days. I've given it at least a little bit of thought, but I haven't. No pen to paper stuff. I mean, for me, I always am just looking for the oddball or the really hard to find Phillies stuff. And if I run into it, awesome. I'm sure I'll find a few things, maybe nothing crazy.
Right.
And then, I have thought to myself, because I'm not, let's just say I spent probably too much money in the last month and a half.
You've gotten some really, really, even to like your SGC reveal, it's like, damn, he's done picked up some bangers. But you still didn't have the best card of the day. But anyway.
True. But I have a lot of stuff that I'm going to have to get sold to bring in some money, because the other thing I will do I will look for some stuff to pick up. But, I mean, to me, the National, I split it. It's definitely, because you don't have to go to a National, but it's fun as shit to go to a National. And anyone who poo-poos that just doesn't understand.
He is, right? Like, he is a baller. You just don't want it. That backpack is full when he goes to that show. To me, it's absolutely a show I like to see. I'm nuts. I like to see every table. I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy till I walk by every table. And it takes days to do so. Way, but I'm not as hardcore as you are. Yeah.
So I want to do that. So the sports card fans, sports card collectors there. And then it's the socialization and meeting up and seeing people for the first time. And for that yearly, once a year, like, there's people that we talk to on a daily basis that we only physically see that one time a year. So you're making time for that as well. And I will absolutely be looking for maybe some bulk lot. And I don't know what to expect. Last time in Cleveland, there were some incredible deals the final day. With the way things are going in the hobby in that area, that might be another opportunity. We'll have to see.
I'm really
so I'll look at that, but I'm gonna have to. I'll probably have to collect stuff to try and sell at the show too. To bring in some spending money and stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, see, I don't really. I'm very one dimensional. I have like when I've talked about it before. When I go to these shows, it's more of I'm looking more of vintage stuff when I go to shows because I'm very comfortable at buying stuff, new stuff online, not worried about so much of what it if it's going to come in if it's messed up or not. But I really, because I have to buy lower grade vintage stuff that I really want to see the condition of it and where the creases is and paper loss and all that stuff. So that's why I buy it more in person than anything else. That's a good question, Brad. Hodges. I'd love to meet Hodges. I hope he goes. Sadler fan. Of course, Brad's going. Brad better hang out a little bit with us. But yeah, I mean, tonight, we're like I said, I think I counted correctly. I'm 9 weeks away from the Sunday that I'm off. I'll probably work overtime that weekend. And so when I get paid on that Friday, I'll have a little bit more money while I'm at the show. Every little bit counts, Mike. And so that's probably more of my plan.
It's just sadly way easier to spend it than it is to save it. That's the problem with life.
Right. So I don't know if you had a chance to see my Saturday chat or not. Seems like another yes.
I did not the one with the binders. I didn't get a chance to click on that.
Okay.
Right before I realized it was almost 8:00. I was getting in my preview of talking baseball with Pop and Scott. So
yeah, I know I clicked that for tomorrow too. That's twice now. I know. I don't know when it's transferring from StreamYard when I edit over something's not.
Well, it's a fun video regardless. So I encourage everyone to pop in and listen to it.
My dad is very comfortable. You can tell he's very comfortable doing it now. He really wants to meet you and Ed for some reason and Papa, but he needs to leave the house to do it. So
he's got to get up to Cooperstown.
That's what even his ex-wife, my mom, was saying that. It's like, why doesn't he go? I'm like, that's something I don't know. But anyway, that's a story for another day, and he'll probably watch this and let me know sometime next week. But anyway, while I was flipping through the binder in my other hobby, one of my other things is video games. And they were talking about like right now everybody's going crazy over Xbox 360. One of them is because they're closing the 360 store, but the other thing is that age group is now at the age where now they have real jobs. They're not asking mom and dad for money. We've talked about this before. I think it's a little bit later in age. I think it's just a lot of pumping right now on the videos. If you think card stuff is a lot of pump and dump, you need to watch video game channels for collecting video games. It is really bad. But oh, nice. And then so they were talking about vintage collecting, and it's harder for them to define that in that genre, and I think it's getting harder for us to define. We're going to have to come up with another name because it just doesn't feel right. Another 5 years we're going to call the 90s vintage. I don't know, but anyway, about young people buying vintage cards, right? And you'll hear it every once in a while come up in our circle or in the community about young people not collecting vintage. And I don't know how many young people when I was a young person collected vintage or we collected the cards of the players we were watching on TV. That's what got us into it. And how we got to know more about vintage was like watching the games, people breaking records, people getting compared to people in the past. your parents talking about it if you were lucky. Yes, it was Ryan. But yes, Sadler, and there's a little discrepancy in the early days, but yes, you're correct. But I just feel like it's okay that I think younger people just got to get to be older people and start learning they'll learn about the history of the game as they go along. Any game, any sport. I don't care if it's baseball, basketball, whatever. And that'll pique their interest. And also when they go to shows or whatever, they'll see the old cards and go, hey, who's that dead guy? That's how you get your interest. And
yeah, I mean, things usually, most people evolve in collecting. Most people start by opening packs and then, eventually get maybe interested in different stuff or build up their collection a little bit, or, get more interest. You get more money, you get more interested in some higher end cards, perhaps.
Right.
Or you just learn a little bit about different stuff. Maybe, like, if you're a big fan of the sport, like if you're like a truly huge fan and you take trips to Hall of Fames or museums and stuff, and then you start learning more history. I mean, I think that does play a role. Unfortunately for football, like football is, to me, and I'm not well versed on hockey or basketball, but football seems to be the most disrespected of all in terms of vintage. Like literally no one cares. It has no value. And the players are, for as popular as the NFL is, it's like 99% of players are forgotten so quickly. It's absolutely like stunning.
And it's funny to me, like in football, it just seems like the football fans that are fanatics. Football fans are some of the most fanatic fans. Just go to a bar on a Sunday afternoon and watch or go to work, and everybody talks football all the time, but you don't hear that as much in other sports. And to not have the respect for the cards in the vintage, like you're saying, I mean, when you can get a Walter Payton very reasonably, I mean, you can still buy stuff. Am I being wrong, Brad?
I mean, I also sometimes, to be honest, I sometimes question how many people are like as huge of football fans and say, I'm not saying they don't love football, they're not obsessed with football.
They love their team.
But like, I don't know. I think they love the team and they love the rush of Sundays and they love everything that goes with it. Fantasy football, right. NFL games are typically, they do a really good job where like the Sunday night games are pretty good. Like it's a close enough league where it seems like a lot of games, and we see it in Super Bowls now, where they do come down to the final moments a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a really small percentage of people who are like, I think there's a higher percentage of baseball fans, for example, that are actually like sicko baseball fans that understand baseball and understand all those levels. Whereas I think football is a lower percentage. Like Brad, I consider someone who like, he actually understands the game. He understands, like, I don't think most people actually know most players on their team. I don't think I'm not saying everyone, but like, that's why no one gives a shit about offensive linemen. They get pissed off when they, have a holding call, but then they're pissed off when their team doesn't draft the exciting wide receiver. Like football is very weird. Like it's definitely incredibly popular, but there's some kind of, and then it's like you said with the history, there's no, like I hear in Philadelphia, I constantly hear about the 1950 Phillies. That won the pennant. And you've always heard about the 80 Phillies. And you do hear about some of the older Eagles teams, but not nearly as much. Like
now
a very small percent. I hear more about the Broad Street Bullies than the old Eagles teams.
I think if you were in Pittsburgh, you would probably hear more about Steel Curtain days. You know what I'm saying? 70s.
Yeah, 80s. It's definitely happened sometimes with certain.
And I mean, because that's why I'm with a Dallas fan. I mean, you'll still. When I talking about Dallas, though, most people want to go to Troy Aikman, where I want to go to Roger Staubach. That was the Dallas team I fell in love with. So it's all about when you're watching it, and
it's just crazy how like not only. Definitely in the NFL, like in general fandom, but also in the hobby, how like just like the Elways and the Marinos and Steve Youngs, like these guys, it's like people like I feel like they almost forget about them. Like Jim Kelly, forget it. Most people
Well,
never
that
even heard of
during
him.
COVID, the football stuff really took off, but I think that was the fastest stuff to fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like it just felt like it really fell, and he wasn't for me, but I loved him. I wore his number, Brad. I wore 72 when I played. So, and I played for a Dolphins Little League team, but just a little info for you. What's up, baseball card curmudgeon? Paul C, did you get to see Yannick what he picked up at the expo? Speaking of hockey vintage, you know, I the guys that pick up hockey vintage to know, I couldn't, I don't know enough about hockey to even hardly pick up new stuff, much like yeah. Him, Ed Too Tall, Randy White. My favorite cowboy of all time is Tom Landry, though. I love Tom Landry. Roger Staubach, Dorsett. I loved all those guys. And but you know that is I feel like pump the brakes a little bit. The kids will be all right. I still feel like the later teens and early 20-somethings are the ones that are driving this hobby anyway. I think they're the ones that, not the high, you know, not the rich man, but the $1,000 cards, the $1,500 cards. I think they're the ones that are moving those prices, and that's probably the largest price range, you know.
Well, especially with the ultra modern stuff for sure.
Right.
I would think, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's still stupid. Like I did see someone, I don't remember if it was in a Facebook group or Twitter, and they were comparing, and we talk about it all the time, the new hyped prospect, how expensive they are, and then you can go get these guys who are building Hall of Fame resumes like a Manny Machado and such, those types of guys for half the price. But then I saw they were actually talking about a guy. So your boy Gunnar Henderson, right?
Yep.
He is like he has an outside chance. I shouldn't even say outside. He's in the running for MVP. It's obviously incredibly early. Anything can happen. Right. There's no really leaders in the pack. But having an incredible year. He's on a team that's absolutely in competition to be a world champion. Like they could absolutely win the World Series this year. There's, you know, they're one of the top 5 or 6 teams. He just won Rookie of the Year, had an incredible first season. You know, he's like barely a year older than this kid, Dylan Cruz, the Nationals prospect, who's the top prospect in the new Bowman product. Mm-hmm. And you can buy his first Bowman auto that came out just a couple years ago. He's already accomplished all these things. He's having success in the major leagues. He's only a year older than Dylan Cruz. And you can buy his first Bowman autograph for like 50% of the price. Like it's just asinine. It's like, it's not even what have you done for me lately? What's come out more recently? It's so weird.
Yeah, it's a lot of what's the next shiny thing, and the old shiny thing gets left behind. And I think too, you know, it goes back to some of those cards have to end up in a collector's hand, and a collector like us is not going to overpay. We're just going to be patient, and then sooner or later, you're going to either throw it in a closet or you're going to have to get something for it. You know, it's just funny to me. Let's go back to football. That the whole quarterback thing has not been, you know, like David said, that product next year with 8 quarterbacks taken in the first round is going to be nuts. I can't imagine what that's going to go for. And, you know, and you don't know what those quarterbacks are going to be. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, you know, we just saw how hyped 3 years ago. And like all those guys are just forgotten at this point. Even Trevor Lawrence is the only guy still on the same team, right? And like he hasn't really, he's had one pretty good year. Like he hasn't
They done picked
based
up
on
another quarterback behind him, so he's got to
yeah,
be looking over his shoulder.
based on how hyped he was, like I would say he's been borderline a little bit of a disappointment. Now I'm not saying he should be traded or cut, but he hasn't lived up to the hype, at least based on what I've heard and what I've
Right,
seen. Like, not to
right.
say, but they forget about these guys so quick. I mean, the guys from last, like, it's just like how many of these guys can really be good? CJ Stroud, the top quarterback from last year, and they're getting hyped. The Texans have made some moves. They picked up a Stephon Diggs, who's probably over the hill and probably not as good as most people think he is at this point.
He had some
But
good games last year.
he's had a few, but he was not nearly as good as he was, previous years. But the thing is, like, they're so hyped that if they come out and have a good year and make the playoffs and only go 10-7, like, he'll be deemed a disappointment and his shit will be falling by like 50%.
Right. Yeah, and I hate we're talking about values, and everybody's gonna be like, "Whoa, what are these guys flippers now?" No, it's just I'm a collector that has to buy this stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I just stopped collecting football. I collect some Dallas Cowboys stuff. I really stay with. I try right now. I only pick up a couple of the new players. I like the offensive lineman because I'm a fat guy. And I like the guys from the 70s. So that's the two areas of Dallas I'm kind of at. So I'm really strict on what I get. But the real reason I got out of collected football at all is and I sold everything except some stars, was because of that nonsense. That only quarterbacks matter, and then the one, some quarterbacks go up, and then you got John Elway or the guys that made the position. I mean, I bet you can afford I can afford a Johnny U, rookie, or I'm kicking myself I didn't pick up Walter Payton before the pandemic. I've had it in my hand a couple of times and I always put it back because football's down the list for me. I'm always like, I could spend that money on a baseball player or a University of Virginia player that I want. I can get 10 Virginia players for the price of a Walter Payton. I'll probably get more than that. I can get the whole school. But that's kind of how I think about it. Did you hear anything about Marvin Harris getting sued by Fanatics, Mike?
Yeah, I know he still hasn't signed his with the NFLPA or something. See, they can't sell his jerseys yet. All kinds of crap. I don't get what his deal is. But regardless, even if he's in a product, he will probably outsell his dad, who is a Hall of Famer. So
right,
that's just another example.
Has Marvin Harrison Jr. signed with Upper Deck or Leaf?
I think he had some sort of exclusive deal, I thought, with Fanatics, but like an autograph, like back earlier, I believe. But he's not in the Players Association, so I don't completely know everything that's going on with that situation. I know they can't sell his jerseys and such, and obviously he would be one of the hyped prospects coming out this year. I mean, I'd imagine they're already obviously working on products. Score, I would think that's would be out fairly soon, I would assume.
Yeah, I would.
That usually it starts with the college stuff. But I mean, I don't know. It's just I love the NFL. I love watching it. I used to buy tons of NFL back, high school, college days. Now I'll open a few products, retail versions, maybe lower end hobby if I get it at a good price, and I sell 95% of it. It's hard to really, unless you get lucky and hit something big. I mean, I'm just kind of doing it kind of for fun and maybe break even, to be honest, at best.
Right. Yeah.
But like the thing for me is, I like all those old guys, and from now and then I'll pick up certain stuff. I like some of the old quarterbacks that you grow up on and such.
My other,
but like
football, they don't have enough of the fat guys in there for me.
Well, yeah, there's not enough variety. It's the same guys over and over again. Yep. And then I'm someone who, grew up Patriots fan, and like obviously their stuff, specifically Brady stuff, just kind of at a certain point got unaffordable. So
right, and he's
like
one of the guys that he's kind of like the Gretzky of the football equivalent to Gretzky in hockey. There's always going to be one guy that's going to be the outlier that
My favorite player growing up was Drew Bledsoe. So like now and then when he's in a new product, I'll run into a few of his parallels and I'll pick them up, but I don't go crazy with it.
Right. I'm having fun doing. This is one of my funnest times. Looking back, other than being a kid, I used to love to sit in the floor, pull my cards out, and go through them, and open packs and thrill. But right now, as an adult, this is probably the funnest I've had collecting, and it's not just collecting. It's because I include, my YouTube. The way the stuff around me, all of that is part of my hobby. And I'm just having a blast. I look forward to doing these shows and having people come on, and I feel blessed to have people come on here and want to chat. I feel blessed of knowing the people in the hobby that I talk to. Nice. Hey, Brad, also, you're still off on Sunday nights, right? I like to have you on before the National, since you're a local yokel up there. I'm trying to get you and a couple other people on the road to the National. And I won't be on the road on a Sunday. I might be coming back again. I might be doing a live by myself on the actual road from the National. Not to the National. Hey, I'll hit you up, Brad. Schedule you for a Sunday sometime coming up. So I just thought I'd touch on that about the vintage, and because I haven't heard. I want to preference this. I haven't heard anybody rant about it. I haven't heard anybody. I'm not ranting about it. I heard it in another one of my hobbies. I didn't quite agree with everything they were saying, but some of the topics they brought up, like the person goes into a retro store to buy a retro game. I don't know how old you are, Sadler, but we also had Hodges. Okay, he was 64 era, actually. So he goes in and wants to buy a Nintendo 64, his 007 game, because he wants to be nostalgic. But he sees NES games, GameCube, all this other stuff, and like, hey, I know about Mario Brothers. And then they get into vintage stuff. Space Invaders or something like that. And I feel like the same thing happens in cards.
Yeah, there's definitely young flipper guys that see how popular and how expensive vintage are, so they will try and pick them up for sure. But that's always going to be part of it. There's a lot of people who are going to be in the hobby for value one reason or another. That's just, It's always been that way to a degree. And I think it's a pretty small percentage of people who don't care at all about value. I know we talk about that. I don't think the value of everything should be your main focus, but if you invest a good portion of your life collecting cards and doing all, you're still going to want your Pete Alonso cards if they're worth zero, but if they become worth zero, then probably something bad happens. So you're probably not going to want it. If Pete Alonso becomes Wander Franco, I don't think the value is going to be the first thing on your mind, but you're going to be probably somewhat embarrassed to have that collection, and you're not going to be able to get rid of it because it's going to have zero value. So like value does play a role to some degree. It obviously to some people that's the 100% focus.
Well, I got a box full of Syndergaard and DeGrom cards, so you're exactly right. But Pete. I'm a little upset that Pete turned down a 7-year, $158 million.
I did see that story. I just didn't have the heart to be like, hey, I'm sure you've seen this.
I don't know how what I talked about it today. I just don't know what he's expecting.
Bad representation.
And that's it. That he's telling him we want to go to free agency. I'm sorry. Home run hitting first basemen do grow on trees.
The problem for him is like he's not having good enough of a year. Like the power's there.
Right.
But if he's going to hit 220, he's got to have 20 home runs at this point.
Right.
Like really stand out. Like
I don't know 20, but yeah, at least
I'm just
he's
like
third. He's third in the National League.
Yeah, but I mean it's just the thing is, like, again, if you play shortstop, you play center field, you have that additional value. If you're first baseman who's possibly going to morph into a DH in 5 years, it's going to be hard to get that 10-year deal.
Right.
Especially if you're already potentially showing some level of decline in some aspect of your game. Right. I mean, you might still hit home runs, but here's the thing. If you're a team and Pete Alonso's asking for, 10 years, $240 million, or you can get Rhys Hoskins for 4 years, $60 million, close to the same annual. It's like, which guy are you going to go for?
And the Brewers look like,
if they end up having similar statistics, and like, honestly, like Rhys Hoskins, and I bring him up just because I'm familiar with him, and I know his numbers are semi-similar to Alonso this year. He's hurt right now, but like he's shown some level of clutch and success in the postseason, whereas Pete Alonso hasn't really had a whole lot of opportunity. I know they did make it a couple years ago, but they only played a couple games.
He doesn't hit well. His average with players in scoring position is not well, especially with with 2 outs. And that's, I talked about it. That's a stat I really like, is hitting with guys in scoring position with 2 outs. RBIs with 2 outs. That's huge. It's a thing that comes up every year when it comes to playoffs. Some team is going to be in there. Oh, they're number 1 in the league with RBIs with 2 outs, because it's just coming in clutch. They could structure it like Bobby Bonilla contract. Well, that's what I brought it up today. I go to Dodgers are going to probably, they could get him as a DH, but because Shohei said he'll play outfield, you got to Pete at DH, and they can restructure it and pay him until 2040. Can we talk about why all these wussy baseball players always seem to be hurt the last couple? Well, I could tell you, Brad, especially with pitching, and Ed would tell you too if he was on here, and we echo the same thing. They put so much stress on their arm. It's not, and even now I got my dad recognizing it. Every hitter on a baseball team now can hit it 10 rows deep. It wasn't like that in the 80s and 90s. This is a new phenomenon where second basemen are 30 home run hitters. It just, you can't put the ball over the plate. You got to have spin rate. The big thing, and these pitchers don't take any time off. They go, and as soon as the season's over, they go to their personal trainer. They're either trying to put on weight, take off weight, add miles per hour, getting more spin rate. And then the players in the field, they're all muscle-bound freaks. That I compared it to golf. There's a lot of golfers that are getting hurt too, and because they're just tightly round rubber bands that just spring, like you spin them and they boom, and they hit the ball 400 yards. Golfers are killed. They can't make courses long enough. But in this, I feel like it's the same way for ball players. You get a lot of abdomen, a lot of leg strains, the big muscles in the middle and their core, where they just, that whole swing and everything's with the core muscles. I just think it's that way. I remember John Smoltz saying if he didn't pitch with elbow or shoulder pain, he wouldn't miss 3/4. And that's probably got a lot to do with it. He was a bulldog. And he also came through an era where they were still having to play for that contract, where these guys now is a business unto themselves. So they feel like if they throw with shoulder pain, it's taking years off of their playing, and it's guaranteed contracts now.
Yeah, and they're not built up the same way they used to as well. I mean, they're kind of, you don't build up the arm strength the same way. when you're only throwing 3 innings in the minors.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, he only threw 6 innings this week and got taken out with a no hitter, right?
yeah, 6 no hit innings, like 11 strikeouts.
We're talking about Skeens for Pittsburgh, and then they lost 1-0 because the Japanese pitcher was pitching, I think, for Chicago. He pitched the next night and won.
Yeah, it was a pitcher's duel though.
Yeah. Oh, that was I know I gave a long soliloquy. I feel like the players, you're right, they're not built the same. But Mickey Mantle was built on beer and hot dogs. And he grew up, I think, didn't he grow up farming? It's a lot different now. A lot of these players, even the big players in those days, had to work in the off season at real jobs. So these guys is a business now. It's their business to themselves, and I think it's not just in this. Brad, how many times did we see? Oh, what's up, Dave? How many times have we seen in football, Brad, where guys go out with a broken pinky, and we would see players play with broken arms, with casts and things like that. And now, hitching or giddy up sits them out for weeks at a time. It's like this in every sport now. Basketball players, you got players that only play a certain amount of games a year.
Load management.
Yeah, load management. So, yeah, Bartolo Colon, I'm sure, is pitching tonight somewhere in this world. I do feel that way. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but I just think that does have something to do with it, and I just think that was something that was talked about in the 90s, and that was also the bad part about steroids. Well, there's a lot of things bad about steroids, but the other thing was your muscles got too big for your joints and too fast. They got too big too fast for your joints. And these players are so lean and they're machines. They're just calorie eating machines. That's right. I like Bartolo Colon because me and him are built similarly. I like him. That's why I like Kruk, because Kruk came straight out and hey, other guys were lifting weights and he was eating hot dogs, drinking beers, and smoking cigarettes. Yeah, Prince and Cecil Felder were my heroes. Yeah, and I mean, and I've heard it. Like, what was the first year Vlad comes up? What was his knock? Why couldn't he hit? Because he was fat. That was his knock. That was his knock on him. And then when he hit the next year, everybody shut up. My man Pete Alonso, they call him, the polar bear. He's built like a polar bear. I mean, he's a big, strong dude, but he's not lean. That man likes the dessert. Oh, and we need more steroids. Hey, the one thing steroids did is we got to see a lot of big name players play longer at a high level. We did get to see that.
Yeah, I was going through that 1998 top set today, and dude, there's so much star power in that set.
Yeah.
Low on rookies, but the amount of Hall of Famers and the amount of guys who aren't in the Hall of Fame that some would argue should be in the Hall of Fame.
All-stars,
just like crazy.
I'd pay to watch roided out athletes. Yeah, nobody wants to talk about the good things. Steroids saved baseball. They can say whatever they want. It saved baseball. Everybody started watching it because of the home run race. And now you got people like me that's mad because everybody on the team wants to hit 900 home runs. I think it's not ruined the sport, but it's taking it back a little bit. I got so upset watching the Mets this weekend, how they're playing. I need more Brady Anderson 50. Yeah, I don't know if anybody remembers Brady Anderson, but when he came up, he looked like a 12-year-old, built like a 12-year-old. And then all of a sudden, he was a Greek god. They had a poster of him where he's sitting on a little bench with a bat and just his sliding shorts. And I think every female goo-gooed over that poster. I don't know what dude had it up in their house, but
I'm sure there were a few.
I'm sure. I mean, maybe Ed had it right beside his Soto poster now. I don't know. Greg Vaughn hitting bombs. Yeah, and I mean, Mike showed a great one today in his showing off. Greg Luzinski. That dude was not built like a Greek god.
Oh, he sure still isn't.
No, and he hit bombs. The best thing is Mark McGwire married a sales rep from the pharmaceutical company he bought his supplements from. That is funny. That's funny. Guerrero Jr. has a career 136 postseason batting average and a 182 slugging. Yeah, but I'm sure the weight had nothing to do with it. ED probably has a full-size Soto cutout. And yeah, he probably does. Right beside his Topinga card up on his ceiling. I've been teasing you about. What's the greatest motive? Topinga throwing out the opening pitch or Soto hitting the walk-off? What's better? Yeah, and then he's still with the Astros, man, with the remote control trash can. Jeez, my man's not going to let it go. That's funny. But he's watching games. My man Ed, I hope he watches this back and gets all of y'all. Y'all shouldn't be making fun of that man unless he's here. But one person is Eric, and he's got the like button. So all y'all hit the like button and on your way out, and make sure and say hi. And I appreciate all y'all coming on tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, go over to Mike O's channel and watch his SGC submission and check out Big Scott's new PC. He's preparing for potentially the end of the Pete Alonso era and getting into collecting Christmas icons instead. So,
I thought you were going to talk about what's his face from the Yankees. That's purely to sell. That's to sell to pay for that.
Your boy Spencer Jones.
Yeah.
I haven't paid attention to how he's doing in the minors, but I do know you'll be having another one in a future SGC mail day as well.
Yeah, I got an auto coming. So, that was one hobby box. I hit all three of those in. So
that's a pretty good box.
Yeah, I had a good actually.
Well, we'll see. In 20 years, it could be an amazing box, or it could be shit. That's why.
No, Brad, I think that was. So I bought some boxes at the show, and I was just collecting some boxes. So I started opening them, and I'm just getting rid of all my stuff. I haven't bought a box. I bought 1 tin of golf this year, and that's it. I have. I will make some plays. I got to get rid of stuff, man.
Might have missed the chance on Spencer Jones. He's in Somerset, AA for the Yankees. He's got 2 home runs, 14 RBIs, hitting 222.
Yeah, I'll just hang on to him.
On the cusp of being forgotten, even though he was, the GOAT of baseball.
He's on their no trade list. They're still saying that. So
yeah, I mean, it's obviously still early. He's just in the AA, so I'm sure he'll be all right.
Yeah, they pitch too slow. But we're going to end it here. Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for coming out. Brad, I need to get up with you. Dave, you need to come. You're going to be on my last show on a Sunday before we head out. So
when are you doing the food show, the Cleveland food show?
Well, I have 2 area people. That's why I want Brad on. I'm trying to get Scott on when he has.
Gotta have Ed on too. Ed's got to be Scott.
Ed's got to come on. Of course, for one, when Ed's on, that's by default going to be the food the Food Network show where we're going to talk about where we're going to get our next chicken sandwich.
I mean, there's no Big Chicken, there's no Portillo's, so I don't know what's in the cards. I'm trying to think. Last time
there
we
is
were
a
at the
hot
National.
dog stand that's not too far from us that I saw, and I got some good reviews. So
Last time,
but,
I forget what we did. I'm sure because I was with Dave, I'm sure we had pizza 3, 4, or 5 times. And then I know we went to the one place we were met up with Michael Shane and a few others, and they had
where's Michael Shane?
really good wings and such. Usually him and Brian stay together. I haven't asked him. I probably should have since I talked to him a little earlier today.
I want to get him on one night too before we go. Talk about some bench collecting. Yeah, so that's it for tonight. So until next time, like, share, tell a friend. Please say hi in the comments. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Man, thank y'all very much for coming here. Thank you very much if you stayed this long.
I only see one like. We need more people to hit the like button. Well, maybe I could, actually do that too. So boom, there's another like for you.
There you go. So
took me 1 second.
They said y'all went to the sports bar night 1.
We did. We do have a picture with a bunch of us there, so I do remember that. And then that place we went that last night, I just remember they had pretty good wings and they had some mac and cheese bites or something. They had some good stuff. That was a pretty good place. But if I had to go find it for $1 million, I would lose out on $1 million. The same way I'd lose out if someone walked up to me and said, "Hey, if you can name 5 current Philadelphia Flyers, I will hand you $1 million."
Was that downtown? Because I can't remember his name.
No, it wasn't. Well, I don't think we ever went downtown.
Okay,
it was somewhere in our area. It might have been 15
downtown. I can't think of the celebrity chef that owns. He's got like a sports bar and a high-end dining restaurant downtown.
I mean, I think we're a good 30 minutes from downtown where the National is.
That far. I think it's. We're towards town, the city side, a little bit when I look, but nobody wants to hear about this.
How do you know?
I don't know. Maybe
it's on the road to the. It's on the road to the National.
Yeah, it's on the road to the.
I just remember when I drove there last time. I could see the city in the distance, and I looped around. However, they brought me on the highway, and I looped around. I know we weren't super far, but
yeah.
We'll see. Those will be topics for a future thing. Scott's got to get up at 5 a.m. I do as well. And
don't ever go downtown. That's what Brad said. I've been down there. I ate at a nice Brazilian steakhouse down there. The place was awesome. Also went to that sports bar downtown.
It's probably been 6 years, so I'm sure things have changed. I know.
This was longer than that when I went downtown with. I had a friend of mine that lived in Cleveland, so I went there for a birthday. All right. Well, until next time, see ya.
Peace.